You know, Pharrell to me is somebody who's just, he just has so many gifts, and he's bigger than his actual music, whether it's fashion or, you know, partnering up and working with different brands and just kind of the way he carries himself. I think it's, he's done a great job, you know, just kind of transcending himself beyond music.
If you're passionate about your brand, do anything to protect it.
It's important to not just look at yourself as far as what you do, but it's what you stand for.
As a black young woman, there's a lot of stigmas and stereotypes against me.
Everybody wanted to be a part of that moment, and that moving train, they didn't want to miss it.
What about as a DJ? What are like the foundational elements for branding as a DJ? Because you got Pretty Tomboy.
Well, one, I realized like me just like being Nyla Symone alone, I feel like wouldn't stand strong enough off the rip. You know what I mean? I feel like most people come out as something. So I started with the Pretty Tomboy because this is a male-dominated industry, and I didn't want people to like not take me seriously, honestly, because I feel like as a black young woman, there's a lot of stigmas and stereotypes against me. So I went with the Pretty Tomboy just so guys would not see me as like a sex symbol. They would see me as like, oh, she's cool, she's one of us. Oh, she loves music too. So that's where like the Pretty Tomboy came in. And I think building the brand helped me so much because it made people take me seriously. You know, like they don't, a lot of times when girl DJs show up, they just be like, oh, she's just there to be cute. But no, when they see me, they're like, oh, she's, you know what I mean? It's just like
business.
Right. Business, and
business.
just more respected.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen some of your interviews, and I like how you've carved out that lane of like, what your focus is also helping the next up and coming artists. You're very like youth-centric when it comes to a lot of your interviews, and I think that's gonna help just with your own story and your own brand development. I think that's something that hasn't really been tapped. So I think that's for sure a thing. I respect that.
Prohaize, what about creating like your social following online? What have you done? Because you have a pretty good Instagram following, right?
Yeah.
So how'd you go about building that up, just kind of as like a a rising artist?
You know, it's important to not just look at yourself as far as what you do, but it's like what you stand for. I believe it was Nyla Symone who said, you know, an artist's job is important for them to reflect the times. You know, about 3 years ago, I actually did this campaign. It felt like the police brutality cases were just kind of at an all-time high. And I was just emotionally just kind of frustrated, but I didn't know what to do. I wanted to talk to people. I needed some kind of therapeutic outlet or something. So what I chose to do at that time, I actually did a campaign where I ran and I biked from Atlanta all the way to the Statue of Liberty in New York City with the purpose just to connect with people, because I didn't have any answers, but I just had questions, and I just had all these, like, I just didn't know what to do. And as a part of that campaign, you know, I actually partnered up.
You ran and you biked?
Ran and biked. I mean,
Real MVP for that, man.
Yeah.
It's
I can do that.
Yeah, but it was like in the midst of that for me, you know, and this goes back to that question, like how am I building a following? It's just about being true to myself, because in those moments, I was able to connect with people and have real conversations.
And that's how you can build one of the most organic fan bases. When I was first starting out doing what I was doing, one artist in Detroit, small city, linked with all of them. Went to another area, I'm like, let's just take this on the road. Just like you're saying, going from this area to this area. And I would map out, make the little emoji on the map. Okay, we're starting in Louisiana. We're gonna head down into Florida, go all the way through Florida, come up through Atlanta, and all this, I'm like, who do you wanna see me link with? People are going crazy, tagging everybody. Who's he gonna link with next? It was the momentum. It was that everybody wanted to be a part of it. It had nothing to do with, oh wow, I'm gonna get 1 million views on this. They just wanted to be a part of that moment, and that moving train, they didn't wanna miss it. Same thing with what you're saying. You're taking off and saying, check it out. Here's what I'm doing. It's for this purpose. I wanna, you know, build awareness. Who's with me on this? Something everybody can relate to, getting behind it. That's really how you build a brand.
So I'm just curious, you know, regarding, you know, yourself, Nyla, kind of who are some people or some DJs that you look up to, or like you respect how they kind of set the temperature in that realm, or like how do you, you know, kind of come in that space and, you know, change it up?
So like my role at Power is to pretty much introduce them to like new upcoming artists. So the way you went to different cities, I pretty much pull artists that I meet like on the street or at showcases, because I DJ a lot of showcases.
Or in interviews?
Or in interviews, you know what I'm saying? Yes, or in interviews.
Someone branded himself.
I'm not mad at it. Reaching out, and if I just think somebody's cool, then I'll bring them up to Power. do like a quick interview and then let them showcase their talent, like do a freestyle, whatever the case may be, because like just riding the wave of what's already out there is not effective, because you got to be innovative. You got to see what the streets is talking about, because that's really what's next. So that's why your platform is genius. Like, it's not a trend, it's a platform. Like, you break people.
One thing I want to talk about is like the difference between being passionate and aggressive. Do you guys see a line with anything, like where people maybe are really passionate, or maybe steps to make sure you're not coming off overly aggressive when you're passionate about your art?
If you're passionate about it, about your work, about whatever you do, about your brand, you will do anything at all costs to protect it. And sometimes that means being a little overly aggressive in terms of how you execute. When it comes to, with some of my clients, especially, artists like Meek, or even, some of the artists I work with Puma, I really am overly protective of the image, because you work so hard with a team to help, work together and build something that you want to do anything and everything at all costs to continue to build it in that way. And I think it does go kind of hand in hand. What are your thoughts?
I was gonna say that my boss, one of the bosses who hired me, had said that out of like all the interns that I had worked with, that I was like the most cautiously aggressive, meaning that like I didn't do too much, but I stayed on him. Angie had also said to me, was like, she liked me because I was resilient. So like, even if I did something and I would mess it up, and I would still try again. I would always come back. Even like after my internship ended, I still kept coming every day as if I was an employee there.
Somebody I really appreciate is actually Angie Martinez. I love what she did with J. Cole. And it's just like, she talks about the music, but she also talks about life and like how to, maneuver around, that space. So that's one of my favorite interviewers.
Cole in particular is a great example of controlling a narrative. Because you have KOD that came out, and not only was he getting interviews with Angie, but he was also interviewing like Lil Pump himself. And that was controlling the whole narrative of the album.
And of course, as you build your career, definitely music is the immediate priority for music outlets. But I always tell this, and to my other clients, and this is how I approach it, is still try to be as versatile as you can to open up lanes for the other, for the sports outlets at some point, or for the, the fashion outlets, whatever, still is within your essence. And I gave the example earlier with Meek, with throwing him with the political ones, but like some of my favorite things to do with clients is bringing them in platforms that they're not accustomed to. So I say all that to say that when you identify the outlets and the looks that you want to, sure, maintain the essence, and definitely music, especially as you're building, is the immediate priority. But also still have that early foresight to be like, what are the other, verticals that I can hit that can help expand my reach and help me hit different audiences and demographics.